Well, howdy folks, and welcome back to the channel. Would you like to know the brutal truth about the TSCM bug sweep business? Well, hang on. That is exactly what we will be discussing in this video. For those who are new to the channel and those who are not aware, TSCM stands for Technical Surveillance Countermeasures. This is the fancy verbiage used for what most of us call bug sweeps. Bug sweeps are conducted with sophisticated and very expensive professional TSCM equipment, or they should be conducted with sophisticated and expensive equipment, but that is not always the case. Our first look at the brutal truth about bug sweeps is what equipment some private investigators use to do bug sweeps. But wait, that is not the only brutal truth secret we will be discussing about bug sweeps. I have seen many a private investigator advertise themselves as bug sweep professionals, and they show up with equipment like this, or like this, or like this. And I have even seen PIs show up with equipment like this. Okay, those first three pieces of, well, not so professional bug sweep equipment were cheap things you can buy online for maybe 50 bucks or so. In fact, I had a video a while back where I tested one of these not so professional pieces of bug sweep equipment, and it did, well, okay, sort of. Those things are fine for the do-it-yourself guy if the do-it-yourself guy has a lot of knowledge about radio frequencies and how they work. You see, these things, these cheap devices, are not what they call themselves. They are not bug detectors. What they are is radio frequency detectors, or what is often called an RF detector. And here is a big secret most people do not know. Come here, get closer, listen up. You, me, everyone in the world right now, we're all being bombarded with thousands of radio frequency signals all day, every day. That is right. Right now, if you had a good spectrum analyzer, you would see all of the radio frequencies around you, and it would look something like this. You see every single one of those spikes. Everything above -100 on this chart represents a radio signal bouncing off of you and everything around you right now. So when you use one of those cheap devices to try to find a real bug, a real piece of spy equipment, what it will actually alert you to is all of these signals. So unless you are able to decipher every single blip and beep one of those cheap things does, well, then those cheap tools are essentially worthless. You see, that is one of the big secrets about bug sweeps, but we have only touched a wee bit on the brutal truth about bug sweeps. Listen up. You see, not all of these radio signals are not only surrounding you right now, but they are also bouncing off of you and everything around you. And those bounce signals become magnified to those cheap devices, and then it alerts you saying there may be, just possibly, there might be a bug near you. These negative positives or false positives then become a distraction and leave the person looking for something that is not there, or chasing ghost and phantom signals instead of seeing actual, credible potential threats. What you really need to find a real bug that is transmitting is what we call a near-field RF detector like this. But wait, is this even effective today? You see this piece of equipment? It is the CPM 700 from REI. It is a professional grade near-field RF detector, and you might think this is a good piece of equipment. After all, it is professional grade and near-field, right? Well, folks, when I started doing bug sweeps many years ago, I got myself one of these, and you know what? It worked great. However, the CPM 700 is now extremely old. I see people out there today still using these, and they call themselves professional bug sweeper. You see, the CPM 700, it goes all the way up to 3 gigahertz in RF detection, and that sounds like a lot if you spin it just the right way. But today I have an Andre, or advanced near-field detector like this, which can go up to 12 gigahertz. So the brutal truth about these two pieces of professional equipment is that there is 3 gigahertz or 12 gigahertz. Which one would you rely on to identify the most bugs? But that is not the brutal truth to bug sweeps I want to tell you about. Hang on with me for a few more moments, folks. Another big myth out there about bug sweeps is that one of these devices can find everything and that myth needs to be debunked right now. Even with the Andre, I cannot find every type of bug out there, folks. The Andre is an amazing piece of equipment, to be sure. It not only scans for RF in the near field, but it also has a log periodic directional antenna, a VLF antenna, a locator antenna for very near field, a concealed antenna for covert scanning, a carrier current probe to check electrical lines, and an audio transformer and an acoustic leakage probe, as well an IR invisible light detector. And it can also check phone lines. And you know what? Even with all of that, it still cannot find every bug out there. In fact, it can only find a fraction of the real credible threats that may exist. You see, many times these intrusive devices, these eavesdropping bugs, may never transmit anything. That is right, they may never transmit a signal. And if they never transmit a signal, none of the devices we have looked at thus far will do any good. You see, some of these devices are what we refer to as drop devices, and some devices are what we will refer to as burst devices, and some fall into the category of dead or dormant devices. Let's take a real close look at drop, burst, dead, and dormant devices. A drop device is a device which is just dropped into a location hidden somewhere, like under a piece of furniture or in some nook or cranny somewhere. Then the individual who planted that device must come back periodically to retrieve the data, charge the battery, or change the device out. A burst device is one that does transmit the data it gathers. However, it is not transferring or transmitting that data all of the time. What a burst device will do is transmit data on a set schedule, like 2 o'clock in the morning, or once an hour, or some other predetermined schedule. So unless you are scanning for radio frequencies at the exact time it bursts or transmits its data, the RF detector will never locate it. Then there is the dead or dormant devices. Now, drop devices and burst devices can become dead or dormant devices. All of these devices need power to operate and to transmit or transfer data. So unless they are hardwired into a power supply, their battery will eventually die out. Thus, they become dead or dormant. Again, an RF detector will not find these dormant and dead devices since they are never transmitting. And many times, the person doing the bugging simply doesn't care if they die if they got the information they wanted. You see, another huge secret here, bugs today are easy to find and cheap to buy. No one worries if they lose a $20 or a $50 bug. They just want to gather the intel they need. We have had cases where we found GPS trackers with long dead batteries from years ago, and we have found many dead recording devices that have been just sitting there for months because the person doing the bugging had no access or desire to retrieve the item. So the dead truth, pun intended there, is the brutal truth that a complete and thorough physical inspection with eyes, hands, and inspection cameras needs to be completed in every bug sweep by trained and proficient technicians to ensure the best job has been conducted. Listen up, folks. Here is the brutal truth about bug sweeps that no one is talking about. The vast majority of bug sweeps conducted today are done by fly-by-night rip-off artists using cheap equipment like this, calling themselves professionals, selling bug sweeps at rock-bottom pricing to unsuspecting clients who never needed a bug sweep in the first place. That is right. Most people who are looking for a bug sweep really do not need a bug sweep. The vast majority of calls we get inquiring about a bug sweep are people who are most likely suffering from some form of mental illness. That mental illness may be schizophrenia, paranoid delusions, depression, drug-induced paranoia, or many other types of mental illness. Now, I am not a medical professional, but in my vetting of clients, it often becomes obvious to me that their fears are most likely unfounded. I get calls all the time where the client refers to they or them, but when we dig deeper, there is no further description of who they or them might be. The client just feels that people are watching them. Or the client looks at different things going on around them, and in trying to make sense of it all, they come to the conclusion that they must be bugged. We hear things like my phone start crackling all the time. They are talking to me through my TV. They have infrared devices shooting into my house. Or stuff was moved in my house, but all the doors were locked. I know they were here, but they shut off my security cameras each time they come in, so I never catch them on video. Folks, this is real. These are the calls we get day in and day out. Now, obviously, we get legit calls from clients involved in a nasty divorce situation, a bad child custody case, questionable business transactions, and other real-life scenarios. But those scoundrel PIs out there using cheap and outdated equipment, and they are just grabbing the low-hanging fruit and taking advantage of the helpless people who have no way of even knowing they may have an illness affecting their thoughts and judgment. Now, do we take some of those clients that may have mental health concerns? Yes, we do, from time to time. We may work with their families, friends, attorneys, and even doctors and do what we call a peace of mind sweep. We go into a peace of mind sweep still assuming there is a bug and working to either prove or disprove that assumption, just like any other case. But oftentimes I have to have that tough talk with the client on the phone and let them know they may be better off spending their limited financial resources on another type of professional, and I recommend them to talk about their fears with their doctor first. Now, this may seem counterintuitive to what a lot of people think as normal business practices. Turning down good money from clients willing to spend their hard-earned dollars does not always make sense. But you know what? I would rather know I tried to help them and I didn't take advantage of their situation than just make a quick buck to make a quick buck. Now, if you would like to know more about the professional bug sweep equipment I use, then check out this video.